These cases occurred in Yakutia in the 70s of the 20th century in one rural family with 2 children. The boy was younger than his sister by several years and grew up very morbid, constantly sick. And in those periods when he was healthy, he often received accidental injuries. The girl said that these injuries and illnesses haunted him for a reason. She said that from time to time some guests came to their house, which the adults did not see, and then all sorts of troubles began to happen to her brother. Nobody believed her. Later, when the girl grew up, she told in detail about a few particularly memorable cases. First case. The children were playing near the house in the sandbox, and suddenly the girl noticed that an elderly woman in tattered white clothes was standing near the barn, looking at her brother. She was not surprised at first, thinking that some acquaintance had come to her grandmother. But then, when the old woman stood motionless for several minutes, the girl began to suspect something wrong. And suddenly she noticed that the guest has no shadow. The barn has a shadow, but the old woman next to the house does not. The frightened girl grabbed her brother and dragged him into the house. The old woman stayed to watch the boy. In the evening of the same day, the boy had a fever, fell ill and was treated for a long time. Second case. A family was having dinner in the house, eating fish. At some point, the girl noticed that outside the window a severed female head with long waving hair was floating in the air. The head's mouth was moving as if it was humming something. Before the girl could be frightened, her brother choked on a fish bone. It came to emergency hospitalization. Third case. There were no adults at home. The children were playing on the floor. Suddenly, looking out the window, the girl saw that on the other side of the window stood a strange man with a very white and red, like a tomato, face. He was looking at the boy. The girl was frightened and looked at her brother. And he, who had been sitting quietly with his toys until then, suddenly got up, ran to the big barrel of water in the corner, climbed onto the chair next to him, and fell headfirst into the full barrel. He could not get out of it himself. If he had been alone at home, he would have drowned. The girl was exhausted pulling him out of there. The boy managed to swallow the water, but the clever sister called the neighbors. They pumped the boy out and took him to the hospital. One more time. The boy lived to finish school, but during another flu epidemic he died of complications. The girl grew up and is still alive, and she told me about her strange visitors.